This is Bless Radio. It's Tuesday evening and it's 6 p.m. UK time. This is the spiritual discussion program. I'm Saad, Southeast London. Very shortly, I'll be joined by my colleague Gregory. Oh, Gregory's now here. Welcome, Gregory. How are you doing and how is the weather where you are?
One is fine and it is cold.
Okay. Here in London, it is now, yes, it's cold, I would call it as well, and chilly. And also here in Europe, our clocks have gone back 1 hour. So it's 6 p.m., as I say, in UK. And in Central Europe, it is, or Europe mainly, mainland, it is 7 p.m. as usual, actually. Yes, but 1 hour earlier than last week. So welcome, listeners, to this spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic for tonight is union and division. Union and division. And you're welcome to join us with any questions or comments. If you want to contact us, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the light of truth by Abdushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abdushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we're discussing tonight is union and division. Union and division. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Blessed Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. So, as usual, listeners and Gregory, I like to look up the meaning of the words in the topic, which is tonight union and division. So the first word there is union, and I looked that up in the dictionary and I found 2 meanings. The first one, it says the action of joining together or the fact of being joined together, especially in a political context. I must admit, I don't know why they have to use one specific example point there, so I'm going to leave that out completely. I'll just say the action of joining together or the fact of being joined together. So Gregory, what do you say about this meaning?
Well, thanks. Again, you will find that there is it doesn't give any clarity as to the intuitive picture of a union. So being joined together, that joinedness means something else. So one is not quite sure if that encapsulates what a union is.
Yes.
There could be some links, but there are conditions, and it has not presented what the conditions are.
Okay. Let us not dwell on this too long, because I think there are so many types of union. So, and I really don't want to be limited by one type of example of it, because that will just prevent us from, looking at other examples, you can say. So let us just, it's a very general meaning, action of joining together, or the fact of being joined together. So it's very generally put, and they were going to give, as I was going to pursue it further, they were going to become in a very particular context, which I didn't like to do that. So there's a second meaning. Let's go to that one. This one says, a society or association formed by people with a common interest or purpose. So this is, again, the word union. A society or association formed by people with a common interest or purpose. And they give an example of that one, members of the students' union. So, I mean, as I said, that's one particular example. So does that help a bit more, Gregory?
That is nearer to the picture of what a union should be.
Okay, let's continue. And actually, before I continue, Gregory, for tonight, for the discussion, I just want to get clear. Are we going to talk about people, or could it be, because when you say union, it can be union of elements, you know, for example, we can put elements together, that's, you know, from the periodic table, let's say, and make compounds, so from two or three elements, we can make a new compound, which is not a human as such, you know, it's more chemical, let's say. So should we look at that as well?
The concept of union as applied to human personalities should be separated from that of union when applied to the elements or compounds.
Surely. So yes, I mean, we will be clear if at any point we decide to deviate of going to another type. Like I said, there's so many types of union, and I think this dictionary is lacking in that understanding of that. So let's continue. So the next word is division. That one, it says, the action of separating something into parts, or the process of being separated. So that's, Gregory, the first, there's two meanings. For the word division, this is the action of separating something into parts, or the process of being separated. Is that a good one?
It is possible to use that keyword separation.
Right. Okay. Now I've got a second meaning for the word division. This one says difference or disagreement between two or more groups, who typically producing tension. And then they gave an example, a growing sense of division between North and South. And I'm sure that relates to a country or a region, if people have an idea. So let me repeat this. This meaning of the word division, second meaning, difference or disagreement between two or more groups, typically producing tension. Gregory, how's that one?
The first one says separation, and the second one you read is also indicating a separation.
True. It just it's more, I will say, a little bit more specific about what the type of separation is. So yes, as I said, this one I can see this, the topic we have chosen tonight. We can talk about union. Union in this matter, union in that matter, division of this matter, and division of that matter. You know, and human, non-human. So we really can talk forever this topic in these things. But we will try to maintain some sort of coherency so that we don't get distracted there. Okay. So Gregory, I decided, let me look at human beings and looking at the many types of union with human beings. So this is the one that came to me anyway. There's a lot actually. Marriage. Then there's family, relatives, friends, the field of work or business, which can consist of companies, the bosses, the employees, the colleagues, government leaders, civil servants, and schools, sports teams, society. In fact, I can say there will be endless things, but let me just keep going. Sports teams, society, country, continents, a group of countries, which can be a political, economic, and military. And then we have, as we said in the dictionary, with different interests, common interests, which people with common interests, hobbies, leisure, can be spiritual, can be religious, and many campaign, and as I said, it really can be endless groups of human beings. Yes, so that's, I just wanted to bring that as a introduction to look at what unions we have. Now, Gregory, when you look at this word union, there's some sensing about it, that this is a powerful way to be together. Okay, which one on their own cannot achieve it. Let's say people as a union, a group of people in a union, can achieve more than one individual. I mean, I know it sounds like common sense, but there's more to it. So if you had, obviously, let's say we have 10 people. You just think of the world as only 10 people. And each of these 10 people are different capabilities and so on. We're talking about human beings now, so just so that people are clear about that. Now, so when we say come together in a union, let's say, what I want to say, yeah. Yes, let me say it in the phrase that is commonly used, which is, the sum of the parts. Let me get this clear. I've forgotten the exact phrase now. It was, I think, something like this. So yeah, if you have, like, let's say 10 individuals, like I say, and they have all these capabilities, but once these 10 come together, then they work more powerfully than even the 10 individuals working somehow. So Gregory, what I want to ask about that is that, yeah, is that really true? Let me say like that. And can we try to, I'm not able to express it as clear as the way I would like to say, what is the difference of 10 different individuals being there and not working together, and then the 10 individuals coming together and working together as a union? What's the power of 10 individuals separately is less than the power of the 10 to coming together?
When one considers what a union is, as referred to humanity, you find that a union is only formed when the constituents of that union have the same goal. If there is not the same goal, then there's no basis for a union. Whether you call it in sports, or in music, or in marriage, or so-called in politics, well, which one doesn't wish to go into. But that concept, union, already presents a picture where the constituents have the same goal, that of ennoblement.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this picture that you're painting for us. Excuse me. Which, when you look at that, yes, have the same goal, which let me think, it can happen, obviously, for a particular purpose, just like you said, maybe for a sports team or for, say, some musical thing, getting together like an orchestra, and even if there are different instruments each in the orchestra, but the goal is the same, to play together, make a beautiful harmony, so you can see that's the same goal is there. And obviously, if the goal is different, if 10 people come together, I'm just using that as a purely fictional way of, example to look at it, there will obviously be difficulties. And maybe, Gregory, I know you use sports especially football, as a very where we're illustrating these points, and you can see that some teams, when they work together, well, not some teams, you see when teams are not performing, there's issues going on. Sometimes they blame the manager, sometimes they blame the players, but the system is not working somehow. So that's what we're looking at. What is how does a union work, and how can we get the benefit out of it? So as you pointed out, Gregory, the main one is you must have a common interest or goal. Now, okay, let's look at the one which we are quite familiar with, you can say, or we have definitely experienced in many cases, which is marriage. Now, in marriage, we have two people. Let's say in most of the world, that is what happens, a man and a woman coming together. But there's a point you made, Gregory, they have to have a common goal. So let me ask about marriage. Let's say, I would say the general understanding of a marriage is to continue let's say, the next generation. And maybe, I'm not sure if there's any, maybe I'll ask you that, Gregory. What is the purpose of a marriage?
The purpose of a marriage is to unite in such a way that the activities of the individuals, both individuals, are complementary.
Okay, so complementary. So it means obviously one does something A and the other one does B, but is supporting. A supports B and then B supports A. And then it shows that there's one A has something and the B has something else to provide. Okay. So, okay, I don't want you to go to this point right now. Let me just see. So, now, Gregory, when that happens, complementary, does it mean that, let's say in the olden times, they said, oh, this job is for woman and the other job is for man. So, especially in those times, the man was the one who went to work and the woman was at home. So, does it mean, are the position of each sex, or male and female, set that only the man can do this, or in today's world that doesn't really happen. But I'm just asking, is that the ideal? Let me say it like the ideal way, that one plays a particular role, the male, and the female plays another role, or can they both do the same roles? And just, let me ask you that.
Definitely, they cannot do the same role, because you cannot have the man getting pregnant. So that is completely out of the question. The activities of the man and the activities of the woman, they complement themselves, not only to ennoble the participants in that marriage, but also to enhance their further activities.
Right. Okay. Of course, the one about pregnant, I can't argue on that, for sure. So that role cannot be, you can say, transferred. But
sorry, may I also come in say something?
Yes.
The man goes to work. It's more of a wrong concept to say the man goes to work. What about the woman? Her activities at home is also work, or are her activities on work? What is stressed here, the activities of the man who goes out and the activities of the woman who does the other part, they complement themselves so that they can live a harmonious life. And that does not make one um, um, one is not beneath the other one because they work hand in hand to achieve a particular goal. So when one looks at the activities in which the woman, in the case of a child, carries the child for 9 months and also nurses the child, um, it is completely out of the question to ask a man who knows nothing, who did not carry the child, to start nursing the child. And it's counterproductive, and it's not in accordance with the laws of creation through which they, the individuals, as in the case of marriage, came into existence. So basically, the activities of the man and the activities of the woman, they complement each other to form a whole, to form a union. Hence, that expression, union.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this, again, expansion of the picture of this union of marriage. Obviously, what you've made clear there are certain tasks or roles which can never be, how can I say, swapped, if I can say that way. The one thing only the woman can do, the other one only the man can do. And so, which some of them, I mean, that's just very obvious in particular tasks, which is clear. Other tasks, maybe cooking, cleaning, both can do it. It's not like it's an exclusive right or duty only of one sex, and they're not allowed for the other sex. I mean, we know that that's what happened in reality as well, even if in general you see one doing more than the other one. In fact, let me ask you this, Gregory: in the marriage, is the man and the woman, are the man and the woman, the couple, the partners, are they considered equal in? And maybe we need to say what equality means as well. So, are they considered equal?
No. Complementarity doesn't mean equality.
Right.
That's a wrong impression when you have that word equality. Equality has to be considered like for like. The activities of the man complements the activities of the woman to form a whole. It's in the wholeness that you will now have a union. So one cannot say that they are equal. It means, in that case, the concept of equality has been brought in where it should not be used. Being complementary to one another doesn't make them equal. If one has to look at equality, then one would say, okay, fair enough, look at the woman. She carries the child, in the case where they have children, for 9 months. Okay, he was supporting, but he didn't carry the child. So what points do you give to the woman who carried the child for 9 months, who has to now nurse the child and things? The whole concept of equality in a union is nauseating, because what you have there is complementarity. So those who, strictly speaking, keep considering we are equal, the man is never equal to the woman, neither is the woman ever equal to the man, but their activities are complementary. Maybe as soon as people get it very clear, then harmony will then start swinging. Like as you have in the case of music, where you have the different components which have been brought together, or there are different notes that have been brought together. Each note is different, but when played under the same circumstance, they complement themselves. That doesn't mean that the notes are equal, or in the same thing with the color. One cannot say the colors are equal. That would be a wrong concept. But the colors are complementary. That is in nature. That is what nature presents to the individual. That's what nature presents to human personalities. That's what we find in nature. And therefore, our basis of discussions, in accordance with nature, or more precisely, in accordance with the laws of nature that produce all this, ensures that there is complementarity. So that is what we should follow, instead of saying, oh, the red color is equal to the blue color, and we start equating. It's a concept which has been turned inside out and upside down, and it's very confusing. But when it is said that these are complementary, it means they come together, just like you have the rainbow or you have the colors of light. Only when they are brought together in their vibrations do you now have the union of it, and to produce the so-called white light. So this can be verified by anyone in the activities in nature, as many would like to, or as many are capable of examining, if that's the case.
Thanks again, Gregory, for this answer and the picture you're painting for us. What you're showing is we human beings have our ideas, equality, whatever it might be, and then there's something called reality, which seems to be different from our ideas. Yes, as I mentioned, union, it sounds good, attractive. Equality, it also sounds good. But then when you see the reality, how male and female, man and woman are operating in a partnership, in a marriage, and by the way, when I say marriage, it can be basically a couple, so not necessarily that you are married. Just as we know in today's world, many people are living together, they may not be husband and wife, but they are pretty much a couple, as if they're married. So because they do the same things, but the real thing is the roles that the people are playing within that relationship. So yes, thank you very much, Gregory, for showing us, let's say, what is really happening in this, in these activities. Now, dear listeners, this is Bless Radio, and you're listening to the Spiritual Discussion Program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we are discussing tonight is union and division. Union and division. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, I think I've said that already, there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. Sorry, that's not, let me just put that correctly. So you go to youtube.com, and then in the search box, you type Bless Radio 1, not .com, and just Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space, Grail, message, space, this topic for tonight's show, which is union and division. And also after this show, which finishes at 8 p.m. UK time, you can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. And you type in exactly the same words in the search box on youtube.com, which is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail, message, space, union and division. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.fm/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there. Now, okay, let's look at some other types of union. In a way, we sort of touched upon, like you could say music with orchestra, you can say, or even football or sports, where we have team games. And of course, each within these teams or orchestra, you see the different individual skills or positions. If I'm not quite sure what to use the word for, or instruments is what they have in the orchestra. So different people are playing those instruments or roles. So in a way, those ones we see very easily what they produce when the orchestra or a football team or any sports team is playing. Of course, in orchestra they're not competing with somebody else; they're just doing their own show, while the other sports teams usually they're competing with someone, another team. But Gregory, you said at the beginning, the way the union is meant to be, it's supposed to have the same goal or interest or purpose. Yes, interest. Now, with teams, well, one might think it is to win a game, the goal, but maybe we should try to understand this. What is the case of the goal with the sports team, Gregory? Is it having fun? Is it? I'm just wondering about it. Is it to win, or yeah?
Every so-called sport has a goal. And those who are engaged in sporting activities, there are various goals which have been attached to them. There are some sporting activities basically just for exercises, to exercise the body. There are some others, their goal is for competition. And one had carefully used that expression, goal. That is what they are striving after. Striving after maybe physically, or striving after in thoughts. Some even strive after such in their intuitions. So, but the goal for many is unflinching, that which they need to achieve or that which they need to fulfill. So the goal remains the same.
Thank you for that. I'm thinking, okay, just trying to see. And what about music, Gregory, in orchestra? Because it's more like, well, it can be a profession, obviously. It maybe most for the people there, in most cases, it's probably a hobby. So is there a goal there? Because as I say, if people, those who are not doing it as a job, because obviously we have professional sports team and obviously professional orchestras, but then there's others who are, I was going to use the word fun, but it's maybe not just pure fun. It's does it help us in other ways, Gregory? Because when let's say the other role we said was marriage, there's some obvious goal there. And then there's the role of a job, which is obvious because you need to earn money to live. But then these other ones, they can be called hobby or just an interest. So is there a benefit there for such people who are not doing it professionally?
One is not sure what that expression, is it habits or something? I don't know.
Hobby. I said hobby.
One is not quite sure what that really means. Something which is done but with no goal, or something is done just casually, or something which is done out of it. For one, it is very unclear. But for that, in which there must be a union, then there must be a goal which is attached to it, strictly speaking. One is concerned with that which is of spirit, rather than that in which is taken very lightly, in which it has no spiritual benefit. That is what one is referring to.
I'm just reflecting on what I was saying, and I thought, well, there's a passion. People, initially, if you're a child, you just, let's say, play along, and then certain things you are not enjoying, then you give those ones up. But then, because you try more than one thing, there will be other things will become your passion. And of course, these people are not getting paid in that time. But then it's something, I could say something noble, because we said our aim is to be doing noble activities. So in this time, when people are not getting paid, it doesn't have to be a child, of course, like I said, and that's why I use the word hobby, because you're not getting paid for it. You just, but there's, I think, the word passion there. There's enjoyment there. There's something that maybe the person's thinking they're good in this, or they can develop in this type of field, even if they never become professional for it. They just enjoy it as an extra thing, but they have a skill. So that is the goal there in that sense, to sorry, this sort of for furthering yourself. So that may be the goal. Okay, let me see now. Gregory, I know you didn't want to go into politics, but the news. There's always things going on, and maybe the people are in quotes playing politics, but they're trying at the same time. It involves running the country or the the world that we live in, and that whether people play politics or not, we have to we can't ignore those type of things that people we have to live in. So I was thinking, Gregory, okay, let's look at in our UK, for example. We have what they call a multicultural society, and somehow there seems to be a lot of, I don't know, tension or uneasiness with some people, where they feel, oh, this, especially the people who are originally, well, let's say the word originally, who are the majority, let me say that way, in the country, and they're feeling, oh, the minority, which is different from them, which is basically a different race, is the easy way to put it. They're saying, oh, they're not like us, they're not. I mean, this is strange in a way. People have been living for 20, 30, 40 years, but suddenly the numbers seem to have grown so much, or they've become more, the other ethnic groups have somehow become more visible, and there seem to be some uneasiness, like I said, and then people are reacting, oh no, we have lost our country, oh, these people are taking over. Things like this are being said, very, you could say, nasty statements being made. They basically call it racist, call it whatever, prejudice, and then the people who are living for 20, 30 years, who are supposedly from outside originally, now they feel uncomfortable, said, oh, we thought we were belonging to this people in this country, and now suddenly we are being treated as if we are some alien person. So, Greg, that's what is happening. We are noticing more and more, causing unease, like I say. And I don't know if it's fear. Maybe some people have fear, nervousness. And that's not a union, as we know, Gregory. We're supposed to live in harmony, in peace. But this type of talk is making things definitely a division, even. Let's call it a disunity. And yes, politics is being game. Some people want to win in this way, by divide and rule, as they say, rather than unite. So what I wanted to ask about this, Gregory, I mean, people will always be differences in people, in this type of countries where there's multicultural society, they say, and they have come up with this idea, because they are culturally not compatible, if that's the word. I don't know what the expressions that are being used, so they should leave this country. I mean, Gregory, how can we have harmony with this type of attitude and talk? Is there a solution at all?
First, it is best to face the facts. And the facts are that the constituents of a country are individual personalities with their different ways of perception. These individuals, they have their fears, they have their strong points. Many a time when the constituents or some of the constituents have not developed themselves high enough to see or to perceive the skills of the others, you then find that they have reservations. Such reservations are not just due to, in quotes, different cultures. That is far, far from it. Even you go to any country and you will find that even those of the same race, people will now say we're not from the same region. Go to the region. People will tell you we're not from the same local governments. Go to the unit of government or borough. People will now say, oh, we are not from the same family. Go to the families, or we're not of the same parents. Go to people of the same parents, even twins. They will now tell you they are twins, they have their free will. So there is no end to it. What you find is that there is a weakness, which weakness is harbored by many, which then sort of brings fear. Fear in the sense that they who form the society, there is the need to contribute their skills and talents to have a complementary union. That has not yet happened. That is the fear which is expressed as hatred. That has happened on many occasions, even in that time in Egypt, where the people of Israel were held in bondage, where they would not be released because their labor was welcomed. But at that time, most of the people lived in fear. Fear that the so-called minorities are likely to be more matured in their behavior, and that inadequacy which is perceived by those who express such is such that they feel as if they have been pushed aside because of their indolence. Not only indolence in deeds, but also indolence in their thoughts and in their intuitions. And that has always been the root of all slavery. So when you have these being expressed in countries in which, in quotes, there are minorities, then you just wonder at the average maturity of the constituents of that country. And these, has been stressed again, has its roots not because people are of different color, but you have those who voice these discriminatory expressions at others suffer from a personal complex, some form of inferiority complex. The only cure for such is that those people will have to educate themselves and know that in any community, it is one for all and all for one. And that's what forms a community, that's what forms a union. One of the other basic problems is that of finance, that of money, where the so-called minorities were there to provide, in quotes, money in cash in terms of millions and millions, then there will be no argument, there will be no quarrel. They will be welcomed. We're there to do some of the meanest jobs. Sometimes they will also be welcomed. But the fear has always been that those who are engaged in supporting the structure of a society, who take the responsibilities upon themselves to ensure the structures which have been put in place are harmonious, those are the ones who are being attacked. If you ask yourself, what's the solution? It's very simple. People must know what a society is about. People must know what a union is about. As long as there are no idle hands, as long as people are working in supporting one for all and all for one, then there is no problem. And it is not a matter of color, let's say, of other cultures. After all, what is a culture? Many will have to answer these questions themselves.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for that answer there. I want to ask another point on this in a moment. Before I do that, I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is union and division. Union and division. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. One other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we're also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1 That's the number one, space, Grail message, space, union and division, which is the topic of our show tonight. And then after this show, which closes at 8 p.m. UK time, you can listen to a recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and you type in exactly the same words in the search box. Bless Radio 1, that's the number one, space, Grail message, space, union and division. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/radio/bless radio 1. That's the number one there. Now, Gregory, I wanted to just look at, we know what union is about. Two or more people coming together, working in a complementary way. So my previous question was talking about, in a society, we have a multicultural society, different races, different cultures. There's what we call the majority. I don't want to use the word indigenous because that's a bit of a meaningless thing, but let's say the majority culture were there, let's say for some 1,000 years or whatever, 100 years, hundreds of years, and then there's other ethnic minorities who are of a different culture, who have come over time, in recent decades or even, let's say, century. And as I mentioned, in today's times, there seem to be some unease for whatever reason, or these people are not compatible or whatever it is. And what I want to ask about this, Gregory, because we want to talk about divisions as well. So union is understandable. It should be complementary. And we know in the world there are different countries and races and so on, and cultures. Obviously, they were in different parts of the world. Then there was this migration, or whatever it's called, the movement of people. And people, even there's colonization, as we know, and people were forced to move around, and then we came to this 20th century or 21st century, and let's say the movement was in different directions, let's say. And now somehow people are more disturbed about it, because people are not just, traveling, they're living and residing in different places. And then suddenly this thing of incompatibility somehow arises, and the people, this wasn't some issue before. So my question, Gregory, is it, because if everybody moved, you could see there could be quite a disturbance, total mixing up, you can call it. But at the same time, there has to be respect, and nothing. Where I'm going to here, Gregory, is, are there some scenarios where there's an incompatibility between different peoples of cultures or whatever it might be, religion? Our religion is this way, that your religion is that way, that is incompatible with our way. People are not willing to change, to adapt to their way, that the one who's, as there's a saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans. Okay? It might, on the surface, that may apply to visitors, people just visiting there, which of course that's the case, because obviously there is a law of the Romans, and you must obey the law of the Romans. But when people are living as even citizens, but they're of different, their origin is from some other place, with different culture, what are they meant to become? Are we meant to, Gregory, I just want to land on this one. Are we meant to just let's say the foreigners or the outsiders who were landed into a particular country, are they meant to turn into the same as the people around them, like Romans? Uh, or can they still be what they are and be compatible with the local people? That's what I'm saying. Are we meant to, the outsiders are meant to turn over completely and become just the same as the Romans, as I say, using the phrase of the Romans, or can they be what they are and still be compatible?
Motion is a law in creation. So that motion in which there is continuous improvement. If in one place one had improved himself or herself to a particular state, when you move over to another place, it is expected that the individual must also improve itself by first looking at the new environment the individual has arrived at, learn the values which should be of benefit to it, and also consider that in the new environment, the individual that has just arrived must contribute something to that environment for the ennoblement of the environment, but should not say, fair enough, this is how I wish to do it, and I've just arrived. This is what many refer to as fair is fair. For if the reverse were the case, that individual who is demanding all sorts of rights without responsibilities will do the same. Instead of rights, which is being trumpeted all over the place, individuals must consider responsibilities. Responsibilities to the society. What do they have to do? What responsibilities have they taken upon themselves to improve on the performance, on the obligations which they now owe to that society? That now becomes the one for all and all for one. Once this idea of rights are pushed aside and responsibilities come in, only he or she who has fulfilled in his or her responsibilities may now talk of a right. So an individual who comes to a place and knows of the responsibilities he or she needs to fulfill, if he or she does it properly, then he might or she might talk about the rights which accrue from that responsibility which has been fulfilled. Very sadly, rights are talked about before responsibilities. For a human personality who is a musician, who travels to another country and produces such wonderful music, and everybody likes the music, what do you hear? They ask the person, please stay here and give us more. They won't say, go back to your country. They love the music because it touches, it bypasses the brain and goes straight to the spirit. it gives them happiness, it gives them joys and happiness. That is the case of music. And in that case, you don't ask the producer, go back. You ask the producer, stay here and give us more. Because the skills and talents of the musician will draw more resources from afar to that point in which he or she has arrived at. The same goes for any skill, whether being a doctor, whatever one cares to call it. It is what you are able to contribute, what you owe society, what you are able to, your input into it, that is what many are looking at. Not that you are from a different so-called culture. For when you examine it very carefully, have people not come from different places to a particular place, say to a country? You find that those people who are called the indigenes of the country are only those who have been born there. If you trace things back, you find that there had been all sort of migrations. So it doesn't really make any sense when one has to consider this. What the individual must strive after are the responsibilities that has accrued to him or herself, that which the individual must fulfill in contribution to the upkeep of the society. Those are the responsibilities which are considered. With that, one now finds that those who vociferate the most are those who do nothing. And that being the case, they have to shout more and more, because if they do not do that, many will start seeing how empty they are and will call out to say, you see, these people are doing nothing. So you will find in any society, those who make the most noise are the ones who are not in harmony with the society. For if they have something to offer, which is good for the upkeep, just like you have in the case of music, they would encourage many to come and have some beneficial contributions to society. So each personality who wishes to proceed to another place must make it very clear to itself what it wishes to accomplish, what responsibilities now fall as his share or her share. From that point of view, the one for all and all for one becomes very clear, and all the nonsense which goes about so-called racism, discrimination will vanish.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for putting this situation straight, really. How people see from their perspective, let's say in a dark way, and leading to destruction and division or hatred. Really, division is not even. It's just as not the real. That might be an outcome, but it's what is behind it. Hatred and so on. So, and how it's supposed to be. love for all for one. So thank you for that. Now I want to move to something different, which we started earlier in the show about marriage, being a union. Now, Gregory, the word union we know is working in complementary, and it sounds all very, let's say, beneficial. However, we know that not every marriage is a success, and there are tensions and things are not working all right somehow. And one will then think, oh, is that really the right union? Maybe there should be, well, we use the word divorce. You can look at it as a division, that there's no more time to be together, even though it was supposed to be union. And also marriage is meant to be for life. But then if this suffering is happening in this marriage, this particular example of it, then it can't be a good thing. It is destructive in whatever way, suffering. I don't really want to go into all the specifics of it. And then even more so when there are children involved, there's can be animosity, and the children suffer that the parents are no more together. When the divorce goes through, they can't be together. And they're wondering, oh, they have to come to accept it, because it's not their choice, it's the parents' choice to do what they're doing. So I'm looking, Gregory, in this way. There is something, let's say, idealism of the union of the marriage. And then there's something called reality, where things are not working out. And then it leads to divorce, let's say, which is, I'm using the word division out as another way to put it. So my question on that is, how, let's say the goal, we talk about goal. The goal is to have happiness, peace, and harmony. If the union of the marriage is not working, then it turns into the, let's say, divorce. Is it possible to have, again, the harmony, happiness, and peace outside of this, in the division or divorce, is the way I'm putting it? Can one still have it with this outcome?
When you mentioned the expression union and looked at that word marriage, which is basically a union, one must consider the different aspects. There could be an external union, which many may perceive in deeds. That is one aspect. There could be another aspect, which is in one's thoughts, in union with another, also coupled with the deeds which are perceptible. That is another aspect. There is a third aspect, which is that which is rooted in one's intuition. By how the participants of that union, how they respond to the challenges, that gives an indication of the depth of the union. Very sadly, many consider that the union, which is referred to as marriage, is such that without even working at it, without making any efforts, all becomes well. And it should be a bed of roses. But they've forgotten that roses are beautiful. There's no doubt about that. But surrounding these roses are thorns. The individuals who are engaged in this union must strive very hard, must improve themselves to such an extent where it becomes not only a saying one for all and all for one, but these must be proven in deeds. For if that is not the case, how would you then explain that you have today people rushing to say they are getting married, and then with the smallest challenge out there, they break apart, and then they find another, and they get married with the smallest challenge that comes across their path, they break apart. So only through working together, serving together, we do learn to value one another. We looked at the case of a football team in which there is the goalkeeper and there are others. Now, you would not say, because they are on the same team, one should carry all the load. That never works that way. But through training together, again and again, through going through fire and storms and opposition, they strengthen themselves. That which they now gain in their struggle together. It's not a struggle of one person. That which accrues in their struggle together strengthens them in such a way that they are able to move very far. Otherwise, the union which they thought they have formed is built on shifting sands. You find that many say that diamond is very strong. But the pressure that goes into the making of diamond, the purification and the pressure are so much. And yet, when that diamond has been made, it reflects the beautiful colors which many admire and want to hold on to their hands. It is the same thing with the marriage, in which two people need to come together to forge an alliance, align themselves towards a specific goal, that goal of self-nobility and self-improvement. But most of the time, they are not earnest enough with themselves. They want that which is noble, but they are too indolent to cultivate it. So it is in going through these challenges that makes the marriage. Otherwise, it was never a marriage. For that which is a marriage is that which is able to withstand the firestorm that may come their path. And in working together, in serving together, they will appreciate each other. Like has been stressed, they who are in this marriage are not equal. Far from it. But their activities complement. That is important. Their activities complement. And that's what you have in any union. Where the activities do not complement, then things will start falling apart. Because that which is of the center, which is the goal which is being pursued, that cannot hold. So there must be a working together to achieve a particular goal. And that goal is the cultivation of the individual skills and talents which the individual has brought even deep within them in spirit. That is one of the key things that need to be cultivated. Else, it is not a marriage.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer, and showing, let's say, the difficulties and things involved in marriage. I say difficulties, I should put that in quotes, because it's just the way you see it. There are challenges. You might think of it as a difficulty. But then a certain attitude must be there, as you're pointing to, Gregory, to make things work. And but I was also thinking, Gregory, what about the children? Do they just have to do, let's say, accept whatever the parents' decisions are? And because obviously they cannot make decision if they're children for the family in a way. It's the parents who make that. But then there's an impact on them. Could it be that when there is a divorce or something, it is something to do for their fate, the children's fate, that they have to suffer that? Because you wouldn't say that the children are the cause of the breakup of the marriage. Well, let me say I have not heard of such a scenario. So I'm thinking, but nothing can happen in a vacuum. So I'm wondering, what is the impact on the children? How is that to be looked at? Is it the decision should be made independent? If the two married partners say, okay, this is not going to work anymore, we have to split. Where can the children fit into this, if I can use the word equation?
The first thing you must ask yourself, as regard to the participants in the marriage, that means the so-called husband and the so-called wife, have they been honest with themselves? By being honest, means how have they been striving to ennoble themselves? If along the line, in their struggle and in their support for one another, they find it beneficial, then it becomes very clear that the children that have come up through this marriage must be supported. If, however, they have been lying to themselves, then they have precipitated a scenario in which they themselves will have to give an account. Many a time, decisions are taken without due consideration, and these decisions are always very selfish. Where you have selfishness, you cannot call that one for all and all for one. Selfishness, we say it is I stand for my own, you stand on your own. We do not have joint efforts, but your joint effort has now granted the opportunity for another human personality who needs support to be able to stand before it is strong enough to stand on its own. So when these questions come, what should we do about the children? It is they themselves who provided that opportunity, and therefore the responsibilities must be shared, must be complementary in the upbringing of that which they themselves have permitted to come or to incarnate here on earth. It is fair because it is they who gave that opportunity, and therefore the responsibilities remain theirs until these children are able to look after themselves. There should be no other judgment about it, because if along the line they are not ill in health, or there's nothing which is stopping them from taking full responsibilities, why should you not then do it? After all, it was they who made it possible for these children to incarnate. Some may say it's in their karma. Many need to also know that every karma has a beginning. People have free will to make decisions. Decisions in deeds, in thoughts, and in their intuitions. With every careful consideration, looking at the pros and the cons and the challenges, the possible challenges, then the participants in a marriage will so ensure that they put in their best to ensure that that which has come or has incarnated through them does not suffer harm before the child is able to make provision for itself. Else, they themselves have sown a thread which they must reap here or hereafter or here again. The decisions are free, but the consequences of these decisions bound the individuals who have made it possible for such a scenario to develop themselves.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this answer there. It shows that all these things are connected, and you can't just isolate, oh, children are suffering because of the of karma. Yes, the parents are making decisions and they're having consequences of it. So as always, we need to always look at the big picture and realize what is this happening and what will be the consequences. So thank you for that. Now, dear listeners, I want to remind you that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, that's Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is union and division. Union and division. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is excuse me, 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. We are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's again the number 1 there, space, Grail message, space, union and division, which is the topic of our show tonight. And after the show ends, which is 8 p.m. UK time, you can listen to a recording of this show straight away on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. It's a Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there. Then space, Grail message, space, union and division. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our other previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there again. Now, Gregory, I want to move away from human beings for a moment and talk about the elements that we see, you could say, in matter. We are familiar with these elements, let's say from the periodic table, although we may not know that it's from the periodic table that they are listed there. We know, let's say, that we see commonly on this earth: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, because a lot of the world that we live in is made up of these elements, or in fact the compounds that come from these elements. We're using petrol, gas. It's made up of carbon, hydrogen, even oxygen. These are the basic elements that we find. And we have also metals, gold, silver, which is the well-known one, but those ones are not you find usually. We're talking about union and division, where we can get the elements combining to make what we call compounds. Obviously, we know carbon dioxide and, let's say, carbohydrates, but then there are these metals, calcium, sodium. We find that in nature with, in our food and so on. Why am I talking about these things? Because as I say, they exist as individual elements, and they can come together to make compounds. And we're talking about union. That's what they're coming, is when they become compound, they turn into union. So what I would like to ask there, Gregory, earlier we talked about union as a complementary, working in complement, man and woman in a marriage. Now, with these elements, and of course there's not a marriage there, but they come together and make a compound. What I wanted to ask there, Gregory, is a union there. It's a union. So one thinks, okay, first question I want to ask on it, Gregory, when two elements are put together, let's say chemically, to make a new compound, are they, the new compound, is that still has relationship with its initial elements, or is it something completely new now, and without the same property like the original elements had in them? I just wanted to check on that first, because yeah.
First, you must understand, one must try to understand that what you yourself spelled out as the elements, they have so-called an inner core, and then there's the outer orbits, or what they call shells. And whenever there is a union, that union only comes about on the outer, not on the inner. That union is not a union of the nucleus. That is a union which has been brought about through the outer orbits of the so-called electrons. And this union only came about to ensure that there is a balance. There is a balance which ensures completion. And that is why you find things like so-called hydrogen. There are two of them that unite. And on the outer orbits, water, which is hydrogen, two hydrogen and oxygen, the union is on the outer. So do you have that in which you have compounds or giant molecules or things of that nature. All these unions are on the outer shells, in which some things are shared to have a balance. That is what happens. And this only comes about because all these that are being considered are in motion in which the outer levels share something in common. That sharing, which is more like a goal, to have that which is balanced. Else, if there is an imbalance, you may have some more elements being brought into it. This should become very clear to everyone, that the union which is formed from the basic elements, such a union only happens on the outer shells where the so-called electrons are operating.
Thank you for that, Gregory, that illustration you've given there. What I wanted to check on, Gregory, So let's say two elements are joining to make a new compound, and I know you're talking about the outer layer that is coming together. I want to check on the properties of the compound compared to the original element. Is there some, when it becomes a compound, is it like a new unique, if I can use the word unique, uh, I, I want to differentiate from the compound, but let's say that new compound, has it got any relationship with the original element at all? With any property of the original elements are in common with the new compound, or is it completely different?
The new features which have now come about, these features are different.
Right.
Once you consider water, in which you have hydrogen and then oxygen, and when you now have water, you see the water, and hydrogen you scarcely see unless it's dense enough. Oxygen you scarcely see unless it's dense enough. And when you breathe in oxygen, that goes into the lungs. You do not breathe in water. So the features, there are the physical features, there are the chemical features which also come about. However, the original feature of so-called hydrogen and also of oxygen, when they now form a new compound, so to say, the final new feature is different from the old one. That's why you have water, and then you have, on the other hand, you may have hydrogen somewhere and then oxygen somewhere. So the features which you refer to as properties are different. They're not the same again because there is a union on the outer shells.
Thanks for that clarity there, Gregory. Yeah, because this compound is a union, like merging, if I can use that word, is no more the oxygen, like you say in case of water. Yes, it is hydrogen atom and oxygen atoms coming together, yet they compound to make water, merged, I don't want to use the word merge, but combine. They're totally new. I mean, we know the formula of water is H2O, so that is what it is water. And of course, it is not looking like hydrogen, nor does it look like oxygen, which is the original element. So yes, in that obvious way, you can see that, but it's somehow it has become something new there. So yes, so thank you for that. Now, in a way, I was trying to relate it with the humans and these elements, but you can see they're quite different things, which of course you should expect this. Human beings, they remain as personality, even if they come into union as a marriage, it's still two individual human beings, just they're working together as a marriage. While the compound, the elements coming together to make a compound, they have become, if I can use the word, totally joined, bonded, and new. So it's a different thing going on there. Now, trying to see correctly the benefits, of a union. I think we can see the benefits of a union, many good benefits there. And then division. Let me say, the word division, when you look at it, let's say, well, let me come to Gregory. When we look in maths, there's multiplication and there's division, and they're just neutral um, operations, as you can say. When we look at it in the human way, union, again, it's very positive and very uplifting concept. And then there's the division. Well, the word itself is neutral, and if we equate division with divorce, then you can see it has a negative connotation in it. But if it is something, but let's say if you look at it in a neutral way, then no, if it's necessary, some union was wrong, then the division would be an outcome of that. It's not a wrong thing, for that type of division. It would only be wrong if as we say, marriage is meant for life. And if that was not taken in a genuine way, then of course the division would most likely would be turned into a division. So what do I have to say about it? These yeah. Should Gregory, this division, is it? Yeah, all these words, union, division, and so on. How should we view them in a like a, how can I say? Should we say this is beneficial or something that is destructive, or we should look at it? No, in this particular scenario, that is the way that is beneficial, and then another scenario, that one is beneficial. So that's what I want to say. Basically, is division a bad thing? That's what I'm trying to go to, or it can be like a positive, beneficial thing.
If there is a goal which needs to be accomplished, and to accomplish that goal, different aspects, different skills, or different talents are required, then only through a union will that goal be accomplished. That does not mean, however, that there is not a separation. The separation is always there because they are individuals. Those two individuals do not merge as one, but they unite through their workings because they complement one another, and in so doing, they ensure that that goal which needs to be accomplished is done. That is what you find in the case of music. For in music, there is just not one tone. In music, there are several notes. However, these notes, they harmonize with others to produce a new, or to produce something anew, which is pleasant. If these notes do not harmonize, are not complementary, then what one will find is that you have a scenario in which you have unpleasant sound which may drive many to madness. So that which is beneficial is that which helps the individual or the group of individuals to accomplish a specific goal, which goal is in accordance with the laws through which they themselves came into existence. For in the existence of the individual or as a group, there is always motion. There is always motion in which the inner state of the individual continues to improve. As long as this inner state of this individual continues to improve, in which it cultivates the virtues which are necessary for it to ascend back to its origin as a self-conscious human personality, then it is right. Then that goal has been the right goal. If, however, in its activities, it is not complementary, it is not harmonious, the individual we find is unable to proceed further back home as a human personality in the form which has been initially granted to it. It will still get back home, but this time it returns to its primeval form as a spirit spark or as a spirit germ that it started from. And all that it has been permitted has been in vain. That is not the goal that permitted the human personality to come into existence.
Thanks very much, Gregory, again for this clarification. Dear listeners, we've come to the end of our show tonight. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion on the topic of union and division. I just want to finish now with reading from the Grail message, the foreword of the Grail message, which is entitled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and star. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses ready-made opinions, the fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Aptrushin. Dear listeners, if you wish to get more information on the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that: www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same from you, listeners. Have a beautiful week ahead. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic. Good night and God bless.